goes the clock. I have no idea how much time is on there, but we'll just go. Okay, Bill, here we go. Let's start with, I need some just biographical, the background information, and we'll kind of get us going, and then we'll go to Boston.
Okay.
So you are how old now? You're 78, right?
78, yeah.
And I'm thinking you, Everett High School, is that?
I went to Everett High School, graduated in 1953.
53, and were you a runner back then, or
No.
The running came later? This is
The running came
coming
later.
back.
Yeah, I wasn't much of an athlete in high school. In fact, I was smoking then even.
Oh.
I smoked at home when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And, it was just a different life altogether.
Different. So you started running when?
Well, then when I got out of, it started when I think I was in with the Boy Scouts, and my kids were in the Boy Scouts, and I got into that, and I was Scoutmaster for a few years and everything. But then when they got out of that, then I was so wrapped up in it, I kept on hiking and climbing, and did that for a number of years, and then we started running to stay in shape, for climbing, and so then I discovered pretty quickly, I'm pretty good at this. No big deal or anything, but so that's when I started getting pretty serious about running.
Okay, and you've been doing it how long?
Well, that was pretty close to 40 years, because that was 1976, I think, when I started.
Okay, and you've Donna's your wife.
Yes.
And you've been married how long?
We've been married for 58 years.
58 years, and I think you've lived in this home for how long?
50 years at this house. I built this house in 64, and built the whole thing, wired it, and plumbed it, did all that stuff, just to save money.
I'll be darned.
And we've lived there ever since, raised our family, got 3 kids.
So to be technical or precise about it, about 49 years then, almost 50 years, would that be right? Okay. How many kids there were?
We had 3 children, and we lost one of our sons when he graduated in high school.
Okay.
So my son and my daughter are still with us.
And let's see, your work, you were construction?
I worked for a warehouser for about 20 years, and then I went to work for Scott Paper.
Okay.
Kimberly Clark took over there, but and I was down there for 22 years.
So Warehouser and Scott / Kimberly Clark, and you retired when?
I retired in 1994. I was 60 years old.
Okay.
And I thought that was a good time to get out of there, but then I soon discovered that, hey, I still got energy to do things, and so then I did a few part-time jobs for a few years, and so I don't do any of that anymore.
Okay, what keeps you busy other than the running? What keeps you busy
just
these
keeping
days?
this. I do all my own yard work and all this stuff, so it's the way the grass things grow around here. Well, it's a full-time job. So but that's mostly what I do, I think.
Okay. Now I have a vague recollection, Bill, that when we talked before, you were saying you were going to wind down the marathons that you did, or you weren't.
I quit doing marathons altogether for 19 years.
Okay, from when to when? You were
from 19. I did one in the early 90s, Goodwill Games. It was held in Seattle, and then that was been about 91 or 92. Then I didn't do any more, and I started working out with some guys in Everett here at the Memorial Stadium, and friends of mine, and they kept coaching me on. They were all doing marathons and everything, and I said, well, I'll try one. So then I got back into it. I think in 04 or 05, I did the Seattle Marathon. So then since that time, I've been doing like 2 a year.
Okay. Total marathons you've done now?
Total of probably 45.
45, wow. And you just impressed Jenna.
I'm very impressed.
Oh, yeah.
And how many times have you run Boston?
This is my 3rd time at Boston. I went back there in 84 and ran Boston. I ran at 3:11, and pretty good time, but I wasn't real happy with it. And then I didn't do Boston again until last year. And again, my friends were all doing it, and they wanted me to do it, so I got down there, and I trained hard for it, and I was ready. Got down there, and they were, the night before this race, they were talking about the weather and everything. Oh, it's going to be a beautiful day for a race tomorrow, and on and on and on. So I got up in the morning and opened the drapes in our hotel room, and oh my God, the sun was out, it was blue sky, and I am in trouble. So I went on down, we all started, and it was even right from the start. I didn't get 3 or 4 miles, and I was, what is wrong here? I just couldn't get my momentum going, and I couldn't nail it down. What's wrong with me? Well, it was the humidity, and it was the heat, and I bombed out. It took me 7.5 hours, and I was totally exhausted because just being out there, I walked the biggest part of it, I think, and so that was a bad scene.
Okay.
And so that was enough of that. But then later I went and run a marathon here, and everything was fine. But it was just that one day.
What led you to want to go back this year?
This year?
Yeah.
Well, I really thought, I've been most races. I got a pretty good shot at winning my age group, and so that would be a goal there. That would be a nice time to do it. And so that's why I went. And my buddies, again, my same buddies, they were all going back, and they wanted me to go too. So Don and I went, and we always like to. We've been to Boston a number of times, and we always like to go back there, even if you're not running. It's a fun place to go.
Okay.
So.
And you did win your age group, is that right, this year?
No.
Oh, you didn't. I'm
No.
sorry. Okay. Let's talk about the race this year. What was the day like? Let's start with the weather.
Beautiful day.
Okay.
Couldn't have been a better day. It was not warm. It was a cold morning to start with, but it was pretty clear, and you could see that it's going to get better. And I decided that, hey, I'm going to just wear a singlet and my running shorts because I don't want anything slowing me down. And so that was a perfect way to dress. I had my gloves on and a hat, and it was just perfect. And I took right off and was running very well at, the first few legs of it, the first 10 miles probably, is not a fast course. There's so many people there, and the road that it's on is not all that wide. So in order to even get ahead of anybody, you got to get clear out on the edge of the road and dash around the people on the edges to if you want to try and make up a little ground, So that went pretty slow for a while, and then later, it opened up more, and I was running very well on the flats, and I was actually charging the hills. I felt so strong, and I was really happy with the way it was going. Yeah. And right up to near the end there, I was running very well. Then when we turned the corner onto Bolston Avenue, which is the finish line, and there it is out in front of me, not many runners there, and I'm still feeling real good, and I'm heading for the finish line, and I get down there, and about 20 feet from the finish line, oh my God, a blast that I couldn't believe. It was so loud, just deafening, and it seemed like it was right next to me. Well, you can see the debris as you pictures, the debris from the blast. And all of a sudden, my legs are just, what's going on here? And I started, I'm going to lose it here. And all these things started flashing in my head, hey, maybe I'm all done. Maybe this is going to be my last anything. And I went on down and crashed under the pavement and laid there momentarily and get my wits about me again. I don't think I was really unconscious, but I was kind of out of it. And then I thought, I tried to sit up just a little bit like that, like the picture shows, and I was sitting there looking around and what was happening, and by then, people are starting doing things, and it starts getting pretty active there, and these patrol people come over and asked me how I was doing, but didn't help me up or anything. And then one of the guys from the finishing crew there on the finish line come over and asked me how I was doing. I said, I think I'm all right. And I tried moving everything and didn't seem to have I wasn't bleeding or anything. So I got up and started to walk up to the finish line with him. He assisted me a little bit, held my hand or something, and he got up and crossed the line, and it still didn't feel too bad. And then he kept saying, well, come on, we'll get a wheelchair for you. You get over here. And so I waited over there they were so busy with people that really needed their assistance, and that I felt kind of guilty even taking up their time. But And finally I said, hey, I'm sure I'm all right. I can walk back. I'm staying at the Park Plaza, and I've got 6 blocks to go. I can do that easy. And the guy said, well, okay, we'll be careful now. And he wrapped me up with a couple of blankets there and sent me on my way. So I got back to the hotel, and Donna was at the hotel waiting for me, and so she was so happy that I got there, and that was about it.
The blast. You said the explosion was deafening. The sound, the blast itself, the concussion or the. How strong was that? I mean, you felt that distinctly.
I didn't really feel that distinctly.
Okay.
The blast was overwhelming, though, and
the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real sharp and loud, and I immediately thought, "Hey, this is a bomb. Something's going on here. People are. This didn't happen by itself. What is this?"
Okay.
And
it's not a truck backfire or a firecracker that somebody set off. It was.
No, it was more than that. I knew that right away.
And it was just to your side, correct?
Yeah, it was. I was over about. I was over about 6 feet from the curb. Got a pretty good picture of. Here. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
And I'm over. Well, here's me where I ended up, and I was coming down on this side, and so the blast was. I think the blast was over here where these flags are at.
I think it came right out of
Yeah.
here. And
But I thought it was right next to me. It was so loud. I thought, oh my God, I pretty got blasted out of here. But the debris did come out on the roadway there.
Did you feel anything strike you at all?
No.
No debris or
No.
you didn't feel okay.
And I was so lucky. And I realized that right away that, man, I'm lucky. This could have been a lot worse. And so, well, I'm okay. Let's get going. I got to finish this thing.
Okay. No injuries then?
No injuries. No nothing.
Okay.
No, a little abrasion. A little abrasion right there.
From hitting the pavement.
Yeah.
Okay. Any hearing? Did it affect? I mean,
Well,
it was
there could be the rest of the day things were pretty weird in my ears. This
Okay.
one in particular.
Mhm.
But now I don't know if I have a hearing problem anyway, so I don't notice it too much different.
Okay. It took you a while, a few moments, I'm sure, to sort of gather your wits. Emotions that you felt though in those moments after this happened. I mean, were you dazed? Were you angry? Were you? I mean, what do you remember thinking?
I don't really think I was too much concerned because I didn't know yet who was responsible for this thing happening. If I would have been, I'm sure I would have really felt some anger, that people would do this. But I still didn't know for sure how it had been caused, because it happened so fast. And outside of the blast itself sounded like a bomb. Well, that's all I had to go by. So I just felt that I was still in a hurry to finish and get going here, buddy. The time's a wasting. So I just took off. And
When you stood at the finish line, and I'm assuming there was a chaos there, did you see injured people? Were there?
yes,
Okay.
they were bringing people out in the wheelchairs at that time, and when they were bleeding badly, and it was a real battle scene, as you can see on that one picture, and all this stuff was going on, and the emergency vehicles were screaming in there, and oh my God, what was this? What's going on? So it was really a battle scene. And of course, they had to stop all the other runners up there. They couldn't come down and get to the finish area because with all that congestion, so they stopped all that. So I was in a place where I just barely was in position to even finish.
Mm-hmm.